Hey guys, so today we are going to be talking about Anastasia eyeshadows. As you probably realize if you're watching this video, previously these eyeshadows were available in palette form. They would periodically release a limited edition palette. I never bought any of those and I was absolutely interested in them, but I always was trying to figure out, what I wanted to get at that time, and I, for the most part, try to stay away from department store or high-end brands because it's really not my price point. It's not within my budget, but I have always been curious about this brand, and I never bought the contour palette because I felt it was too warm for my skin tone, so I never picked that up. And then the brow products, I do have the brow stencils, and I think I talked about that recently in my brow video. But anyways, yeah, so now they have these single eyeshadows. Now they launched last November, and I really wanted to try them, but I prefer to be able to swatch things before I buy them, especially if it's a department store high-end brand. Now granted, sometimes you cannot do that. For example, ColourPop, Makeup Geek, these are some examples of things that you can't swatch beforehand. They're only available on websites. But I knew that these were eventually going to be coming out in stores, and I decided to go ahead and wait until I could swatch them in person. And I figured also that would help in trying to determine what shades that I wanted to purchase, because sometimes things don't always swatch the same as what they look like. So you can buy these single eyeshadows at Macy's impulse stores, and what that is it's a special type of Macy's store that carries an expanded beauty department. When you walk into a normal Macy's, there are a lot of beauty counters and there's a lot to pick from, but when you walk into a Macy's impulse store, the beauty department just goes on and on as far as the eye can see, and it doesn't matter what brand you're looking for, they have it. I mean, it's really impressive. The first time I ever saw one, I was just blown away. And I fortunately can go to a Macy's impulse store. It takes a while to get there, and I wouldn't say that it's exactly convenient to do so, but it's a real treat and it's quite an experience. If you've never been to one, then you owe it to yourself to at least go and look at one, because they've got everything. So anyways, I had heard that the only place you were going to be able to buy the Anastasia single eyeshadows in person was at a Macy's impulse store. So I went yesterday, and I wanted to go before that, but I was really sick, as you guys know, and so that was out of the question. There was no way I could go prior to that. And so I went in there I had like a little list with me of colors that I wanted to look at, and they don't have all the shades in stores. They have, I don't know what the percentage would be, but they don't have all the colors. So some of the colors that I was interested in, they don't carry it in store. You can only get them from Anastasia's website. But they did have a deal going on where if you purchased 4 single eyeshadows, you got this little palette to put them in. And their eyeshadows, their single eyeshadows are very similar in the way they look and the way they, the design of them. They're very similar to like the MAC Pro Pan eyeshadows or the Makeup Geek eyeshadows. If you're familiar with either one of those, they're the same type of thing. But if you buy 4 eyeshadows, you get this little adorable travel compact, and it opens up like a book. It has a clear cover on it, and it just says Anastasia Beverly Hills across the top. And then one thing that I noticed about this that I really like is it has a little hole in the corner. So if you wanted to take something like that Z palette tool that I was showing you the other day, you can just stick that in that little hole and then pop the pan out, because it is magnetized, so your eyeshadows aren't going to fall out. I mean, you can go like this and they're not going to fall out, because I tried that already. So yeah, let me just show you one just so you can see. So you can just drop it in there and then it's gonna like stick, and then see, it doesn't come out. So that's what it looks like in there. Now in terms of the size of these eyeshadows, they are, like I said, the same pretty much size as a MAC or a Makeup Geek eyeshadow. And so that's what it looks like. And then on the back it tells you the color, but it does not say the finish, because these do come in lots of different finishes. I chose 4 of the ultra matte finish because I really feel like the best way to judge or review an eyeshadow is to get some of the matte formula, because that's going to tell you, that's going to speak volumes about the eyeshadow quality. And by the way, not only do you get a free palette when you buy 4, you also get a break on the price point. These eyeshadows normally retail for $12 each, but if you buy 4, you get them for $10 each. So it's definitely to your advantage to buy 4. Now, at first, I wasn't sure I was going to do that because I've never tried Anastasia eyeshadows before. I never bought any of the palettes. So I initially was thinking about just getting one to try, and then when I saw about the palette and the discount on the price, I was like, well, I'm just gonna bite the bullet and get 4. And I'm glad I did, because then it gives me more information to help me review the product. So when you purchase these, they just come in this little plastic case, and then that comes inside of this cardboard case that just says Anastasia Beverly Hills on it. But I'm not going to keep any of that. I'm just going to throw out all the packaging because, you know, I'll be storing them in a palette. And instead of putting them in this little travel palette, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put them in a palette. Well, actually, I'm going to put them in that Z palette that I showed you recently. Because what I've ended up doing with that Z palette is putting some MAC eyeshadows in there, putting some Makeup Geek eyeshadows in there, and I think I'm just going to keep like my most used, most favorite eyeshadows in that palette now, instead of keeping all my eyeshadows in separate palettes, either by brand or by color. The ones that I enjoy using the most at the current time, I'm just going to keep them all in that Z palette. So that's where the Anastasia eyeshadows are going to go. Alright, so let's get on with it then. What colors did I pick and what do I think? Like I said, I bought 4 of the ultra matte finish because I felt as if that would be a good place to start to judge how I felt about them. And I bought 4 neutral colors. I have 2 of them on right now, and then there are 2 that I haven't used yet. So let me start with the ones that I'm wearing. The first one that I picked out is the shade Nude, and this is what I have on my lids right now. Nude is described, I've seen it described online as a cool tone pink tinted beige. I'm not sure that I agree with that description. I got that off of someone's blog, and to me it does not look cool tone, but I don't know that I'm the best person in the world to judge on something like that, but to me it definitely does not look cool tone. I don't see any pink in this whatsoever, so I kind of disagree with that description, but that's just one description that I saw online. And by the way, something really bizarre about this particular eyeshadow is this is not on Anastasia's website, and it is not on Macy's website. So I'm totally baffled why that is. I don't know if that means that it's out of stock, or it couldn't possibly be discontinued already because these just came out in November. So I don't know what's going on with that. But this was, when I started reading about these eyeshadows and learning about them, this was the one that I wanted the most. Oh, and by the way, if you want more information about these eyeshadows, Anastasia's daughter Norvina has a YouTube channel, and if you are interested in that brand in any shape or form, you should absolutely subscribe to her channel, because she comes on every now and then. She doesn't post a lot of videos, but what videos she does post gives you a lot of information about their products, so you might want to check that out. If I remember, I'll try to remember to put a link to her YouTube channel in the description box. But anyways, this is the one that I wanted the most, and I was so glad that they had it, because even though these have only been out for a couple of weeks, there wasn't a lot of product left to choose from. Now, none of this stuff is limited edition, but you know how stores are. Who knows how long it's going to be before Macy's restocks the slots in that store. And so this was the last one that they had at my Macy's impulse store of this shade. So that's Nude. That's what I'm wearing on my lids right now. I'm going to go over the colors that I purchased first, then I'll tell you what I think about the formula. Then in the crease, I have on the next shade I'm going to show you. This is called Birkin, and this is described as a warm beige mauve. And again, that's not how I would describe it, but that's the description that I read online on a website. I can't remember off the top of my head where I got these color descriptions from. I looked at so many different websites and read so much information about these eyeshadows that I don't remember where I copied this information from. But yeah, warm beige mauve is how this is described as, and again, I don't see it that way, but that's what's in my crease. So that's the second shade. And then the third shade that I purchased is called Soft Peach, and this is described as a nude coral peach. Again, I don't see it, but you know, that's, I guess different people see colors differently. And I haven't used that yet. And then this is the fourth one, and I haven't used this either. This was an impulse buy. This is called Warm Taupe. And I didn't have this on my little cheat sheet that I brought with me. I just decided when I saw this that this was one of the ones that I wanted to get. Now, they didn't have some of the colors that I was initially after, either because they're not carried in store or because they were sold out. And so these were the four that I decided on. I wanted to go with very neutral, wearable colors, things that I would easily be able to mix and match with what I already owned for eyeshadows. So that's why I decided on those four. Okay, on to the formula. What do I think about the formula of these eyeshadows? They go on very opaque, not patchy whatsoever. When you put them on your skin, they go on smooth and opaque. They blend like a dream. I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say, now I've been on YouTube for 5 years. I have a huge makeup collection. I've tried probably hundreds of brands. I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say these just might be the best eyeshadows I've ever tried. And I've tried eyeshadows at all different price points, but I am so impressed with these eyeshadows, you guys. They're smooth, they're opaque, they blend amazing, and when you stick your powder in them, the texture is, they're not too, like, you know how some eyeshadows are so hard that when you stick the brush in there you can't pick any product up? These are not like that. They're also not so soft that when you stick your brush in there you kick up a ton of product. They're right in the middle. They're exactly where you would want them to be. Excuse me, they're exactly where you would want them to be. They're not too soft, they're not too hard, they're just right in terms of formula. Now I'm gonna do some swatches, but keep in mind these are very light neutral colors, so I don't know how well they're gonna show up on my skin, but I'm gonna try and do some swatches for you. The first one is Nude, so I don't know if you'll be able to see that at all, but we're gonna try. But look at my finger. Do you see how opaque that is? And for a nude, how pigmented it's showing up on my finger. But again, I don't know how that's going to translate onto my arm. So yeah, you can't really, once I put it on my arm, you can't see it too well, but hopefully you will be able to see it somewhat. Okay, so that's nude. And then I'm going to swatch these in the same order that I showed them to you. The next one is Birkin. In case you're wondering, this is a reference to Jane Birkin from the 60s, who some famous handbag was named after her. Okay, so that's Birkin. And then the next one is Soft Peach. And then the last one is Warm Taupe. Okay, now if you are curious about how these shades compare to other eyeshadows that I already own, I did take a peek at some other eyeshadows to see what I had that was maybe similar, and the closest things that I have to these, Birkin is somewhat similar to MAC's Soft Brown, but not exact. So this is MAC Soft Brown, and this is Birkin. So somewhat similar, but not exact. But just to give you an idea of like the color comparison, in case you're wondering. Okay, and then I also this is Anastasia Nude, and this is MAC Orb. So that was the closest thing I had to that, and not really that similar, I would say. So Nude ended up being a much more unique color than I thought it was going to be, which I'm happy about. And let's see. The other two shades, yeah, I really don't have anything even close to those other two shades, which is so surprising because I thought for sure I was going to have something close. So I don't have anything close to Warm Taupe and nothing close to Soft Peach. And even that last one, sorry, my camera just shut off. I was just saying that I don't think that the last one that I showed you, that comparison is really even that close. So the eyeshadow colors are actually more unique than what I thought they would be. But yeah, I am so impressed with these eyeshadows, you guys. And for, like I said, if you buy 4, you can get them for $10 a piece. So I think they're absolutely worth $10. There's no question about it. Best eyeshadows I've ever tried. And that's it. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask, and I'll see you next time. Bye.